Hello, everyone. Like Angelina said, my name is Aleksandar Andrijevic. I'm coming from Belgrade, Serbia, but I'm originally from town of Niš, that I think you heard of. This is upper part of Serbia. I'm primarily a backend developer. I'm currently working at a company called Folkmatic in Belgrade. We are a company that is based from Copenhagen, and we have offices in Belgrade and recently in Berlin. Like I said, I'm primarily a backend developer, but I'm also thinking about going full stack with front end, and I'm taking also interest in mobile applications. So I'm working with WordPress for almost 3 years, and I work with other WordPress developers in a bunch of teams, plugins, writing projects inherited from other companies, from clients. And I saw there are different organization rules and structures of how projects are handled. And from most of what I saw, they're just like too complicated for me. I'm always striving towards simplicity in everything I'm doing, in personal or professional life. And I came up with some organizational structure with how should I run WordPress projects, at least from my side. And if you like them, what you're going to see right now, maybe you will adopt them too. So, but before we begin, I know that most of the developers were giving a talk. I like to ask the audience on the start, like how much of you are using this technology, how much using that technology, how much you into WordPress even. I don't want to do that now because I'm presuming since you are here that you either using WordPress on your daily level or you're planning to give it a try. Seeing you in this number, I know that there are many of you from both sides, and that makes me very happy. So, with every project workflow, we usually start by the project idea or pitch for some project. So, for if you're a company or a developer, you are send a request or you find work or whatever for some project. And then you need to find out some basic information about the client that you're doing for. And by working on more and more projects, you'll find out that if you work on similar projects for companies that have like similar business or some other agenda, you will find out that more in time you will be better in understanding what exactly the client needs, and you will be better prepared the next time when you're like given a project that is similar in business for that one. So it's always a good idea to research what exactly the business is all about, the client that you're building a website. After the project has been approved, the team that is behind, like a functional specification team or something, can do a basic UX of site or mockups, wireframes, and after that it's basically transferred to the designer to make a design based on that. So it depends on how much time do you have. Some of developers or those who are doing the functional specification or mockups or designers go straight to the design, ignoring completely the UX part of mockups that side. I strongly recommend, if you have time, to do a basic UX for any project you are doing, not just WordPress, because it will help you better to understand all the functionalities and the site components that will exist on WordPress site that you are building. and it will help the developers that you are handling the project for UX to better understand what that component should actually do. So that's very, very, very important for them, and it will I don't know exactly the term. It will be given less time to problems afterward that may arise because of the bad specification. And of course, after that, there is a design. There's not much to said there. And after the design has been approved, there's basically start with development. And development usually starts with front-end part. So you basically want to write front-end, and then you start and you're doing that by coding directly in team files. But soon you find problems and hit the wall with like quality assurance team, project management, or even clients that usually like to test things even before they are not even complete. So how to overcome this? You can do this by coding all of your pages from UE that is approved like static pages, like static HTML. The way you call it is irrelevant. You call it like HTML or you use some templating engine, it doesn't matter. But once you code it, you send that to approvement, to the quality assurance, the designer, and even a client. And once that is approved, you have a clean code that you can then transfer to eventual backend implementation. So that's also reducing time needed for additional testing or whatever. Of course, testing will always be needed, but it will reduce time for that. And of course, there are like testing that can be tester client, and even maybe audience feedback, depends on the project you're doing. The client may involve potential audience in that. After the audience after the testing has been received, feedback, there's of course more development, because there will always going to be some bugs, changing requests, something else, but that's all the development process. Once you're done with that, then it's time to put the project on live. And after that, if it's all okay, you will start, fortunately, project care program for client, like solving bugs, new requests, administration of that project, etc., etc. If clients, of course, wants to give you green light to that. So, when you basically start project by things you see that there is in UX and UI, you usually start it by choosing theme for WordPress. And there you have three variants of theme. So you can get a free theme, either from WordPress repository or some other resources. You can get paid commercial theme, or you can code it from scratch or a custom theme. All three variants have some pros and cons in choosing them. So, for example, a free theme, pros is just it's free, easy maintenance, and usually is, if from WordPress repository, it's reviewed by WordPress community team, by reviewing team. But cons, there is little lack of no support for free teams. You can get like paid support. Lack of custom functionalities, because most of the teams are light on functionalities, and updates are not regular over time. And trust me on this, they're not. So for paid team, of course, you get support, new updates, regular, and it's developed by professional company or individual. So there's basically pros for that. Cons, custom functionality not always on time, because the developer or company that is behind that team is sometimes waiting for more audience feedback or more requests to actually implement something to team and give it to all of the customers. So that maybe took some time. If that team is using some kind of framework or some kind of custom frameworks you don't know anything about and you want to change something, you need time to learn those things if you're choosing like different team all the time and you haven't worked with that before. And sometimes it's too much code just in things that you don't need. So I don't say that this slowing down maybe a team, but it's definitely one of the cons for chasing it. And of course, you can build a custom team. So pros for that, you can just write what you want. Less code using, of course. You can use it on multiple places. It's more adaptive. And you can, of course, reuse the code that you write because you know that you write that code and you know the best from other people. Cons for choosing a custom team is usually little time invested in review, because if you're not planning to sell that team to other clients, but you're coding custom for one client, there is little time invested in quality assurance, basically on that code, because it's just for that client. It's not going to go for others. And of course, some things you must write from scratch because it's custom teams. So either you write them or find some functionalities on internet or read through WordPress documentation. And of course, after choosing theme, you are all eager to install some plugins and buy what exactly that site is going to interact and do. You choose some plugins, you find it even like commercial ones or free on the WordPress repository, etc., etc. But there are some plugins that will help you on your daily level, like you see here, and you're probably most familiar with all of them, but we're just going to mention. They are not must-have, but they will help you a lot to overcome some problems if you hit the wall. And first of all, I want to say about the Jetpack. Now I see that I work on many WordPress projects, but like I said, maybe from I don't know 100 projects, I saw like on 5 places the people using Jetpack, and I don't know if people don't exactly know what the Jetpacks exactly do, but here's some things. So with the Jetpacks, you can, in a free version, get website stats, you get CDN, basic brute force attacks protection, two-way factor authentication, related post sharing buttons for social media. All that is included in the Jetpack by free. So you don't need any other functionalities to like install special plugins or something else. You can all that find in Jetpack, so give it a try. Of course, there's advanced custom fields. I think most of us have used it over the times. I use it on a daily level, and it's just like super plugin that is used for adding meta boxes with easiness. Regenerate thumbnails, of course. If you're adding new image sizes, you need to regenerate thumbnails over time. Yoast Cell for basic cell optimization site, and Battery Total Cache or any other cache plugin light for caching pages, assets, etc., etc. And of course, you will find out that developer, our costs need development environments or staging environments or production environments where you want to put your website. So those basically are these 3 environments that you're going to use on their level. There are some recommendations that I'd like to mention what things you can try to make your life easier and time less for developing on these different environments. So for local development environment, try Vagrant or Docker. They're basically, Vagrant is basically a virtual machine. Docker is a little different. It's a development environment for projects. And you're sure that all other developers in team will have the same development environment. You just pass it to other developers, and they have like virtual machines. They don't have to worry about why this is not working on, like, for example, Apache version this or PHP version this. They all have same environments, and it will make debugging of things less to worry. Staging environment. Now, this is maybe wrong, but I like to do it. Recommended, as some rule I stick that, it's going to be on the same server that is production environment also. Why is that? Because primarily in a matter of speed. So the client, if you're developing some new functionality, and the client is complaining, oh, like this functionality is much faster on production than staging, because like staging is on other server. If you have on the same server staging and production environment, then the speed is the same, the server resources are the same, so the client can't complain about that. Production environment, I recommend you choose manage WordPress instances by hosting companies, but only if you're sure that they are good and you will not need anything beyond that. So do a research if you're not using any like hosting company that do a managed WordPress handling services. Do a research and do reviews on which company you should choose. If it's a project that it's not going to be handled by managed WordPress company that is doing, but from the, like, you want to start it on a separate VPS or system administrator that is a new server, ask some professional company administrator to do it for you if you don't have experience in it. Developers usually think that they can set up this servers to be like 100% performance ready on server side for not just WordPress projects, but for any projects. And trust me, they are not. I know that I cannot set up server as good as some system admin, professional system admin. So my recommendation is to either hire a company or someone to do it for you. And then when we are ready with our server infrastructure, there, of course, we instance a WordPress project. Installation is a breeze. It's a famous five-minute installation, either on non-virtual machine. And there are some couple of things you should consider after immediately installing the WordPress, or while installing WordPress. Like, for example, change the default WP table Slack. It's never too early for security, and one thing that hackers are only into about, it's like, okay, I'm having a WordPress database and I know exactly what are the prefixes for that database. Change them and beat them in their game. HTTP password protection for staging site. Now, why this is important? You will avoid duplicate content and bad SEO from crawler websites, because you will have content on staging instance. For example, the client has like enter content here, and then when site is put in production, you need to transfer it to live, but it just hanging there. So protect your site by HTTP, not just for content, but for security measures. And web crawlers will not index your site. Or you can use option in WordPress to disable indexing for staging. And protect VP admin area either by HTTP protection or some rewrite rules. It's basically all in a matter of security. So, the modern software development can be quite imagined with some type of subversion control. And you as a developer will probably use it when you're doing WordPress projects. So there are some recommendations on how exactly should you, not just in WordPress projects, but in any other projects for development, which type of branches, either if you're using like Git or CVN, what branches should you keep, like basic branches for that development? So you like have a master branch when all that code is developed. You have like, for example, staging. When something is done on master, you transfer it to staging branch. And if it is approved, then you transfer it to production. That's one way to do that workflow. The other way is to ignore completely like staging branch because I don't know, there is maybe no need. If something is on master branch, there is certainly 100% is going to finish on staging. So for staging, you can also use master branch. And for production, you of course use the production branch. Whatever you choose, the choice is on you. And there is one thing that I saw in many WordPress projects that have some subversion control, is that people think that it is a good idea to keep all WordPress files in subversion. Please don't do that. So there is actually no need to do that. Whatever you're changing, like in theme or plugin, it will keep there. There's nothing to change outside of those directories except maybe uploads, but that is on file side, so that the files that are uploaded. So just ignore it. On Git or CVN, you keep just theme or custom plugin if you build one. So if you're choosing like custom theme for your projects, there's some things you may consider before going to write it from scratch. You're probably so eager to write it like, yeah, I'm writing custom theme. But before that, check some boilerplates maybe that are like best practices for writing theme. And underscores.me is like super for that. It's managed by many people that make sure that theme is with WordPress coding standards. Of course, themes should be only used for reading and visualization of data. Anything you need to like for any CRUD operations, creating, reading, or relating data, should be handled by custom plugin or any other plugin you choose. Only use what you need in theme. It's much easier to add some functionality than cleaning that you need, than cleaning those that you don't. JS, CSS, assets, static images, files in general. For both development and production, just define it. You can define it if vp-config, for example, that file is created on a WordPress instance. It's not going to be transferred like on Git when you do deployments. It should not be changed. And you can like define in vp-config this instance is using this set of assets, and that instance is using set assets. So you can use it like if you're building with Gulp, for example, you can define it there. The choice is yours. If you're doing coding in theme, code with option for the VP debug set to true. It will let you know your mistakes early, so you can fix them on time, and it will make you a better developer to know do exactly what we're doing. Choose some team options. Class, it's easy, pretty easy to add team options. And if you don't have one, I will share one with you. This is not, If you're needing building custom plugin, of course, before thinking about building custom plugin, choose amongst like 53,000 plus currently that there are in WordPress repository. Maybe there are more. I'm not quite sure. When I made the presentation, there was like 52,000 plus. To see if there's someone that will fit your needs for solution you're working on. If you can't find one, but there is one with slight modification, will do the job for you, fork it and modify it, either with files or by extending it to hooks, of course, if the plugin license allows you, but most plugins on the WordPress repository allows it. If needed writing from scratch, look first at some boilerplates. I use, for example, Dan Vinson WordPress plugin boilerplate for about 2 years, and it's super awesome, easy to learn with best practices writing plugin. So I recommend, if you're needing writing custom plugin, should look into that. Of course, you can also look at some other popular plugins for best practices to see how they're implemented stuff. And of course, stick closely to WordPress codex. In team assets, when bundling them, you can use tools you're most familiar with this one, like Gulp, Webpack, or Human. It will make handling assets much easier than one thinking about where why they're not minified, etc., etc. For example, JS or CSS. Some recommendation, of course, is that static images that you're using in your theme or a plugin should be compressed. You can use tools like Google Page Speed Insights to download the compressed versions of those images. Not that Google Speed Pages Insights is going to fix all your problems. The problems with speed are definitely you need to look that either on server or theme or plugin or database. So, but it's a good tool for combining like minified version of assets if you don't use bundling, for example. Of course, custom JavaScript CSS files should be always minified in production, and we always have separate versions for development and production. Use concatenation, minified versions, etc. And of course, always load. I've seen many times that people are still loading JavaScript and CSS even images through like normally how they'll do it in HTML or PHP. Use functions for loading them, default WordPress functions you can see here. And once your project is, of course, given a green light to put it in deployment, there are a couple of things you should also do. Prepare your server, or I'm repeating once again, if you're not sure how, go with managed one. For sites that may handle bigger traffic, or you may consider VPS server, dedicated cloud, whatever, handled by professional system administrators. Of course, you will install a fresh copy of WordPress on your server. You set up version control if you need one. If not, you will transfer your theme and eventually custom plugins manually by uploading them to a FTP. And this is why it's important to not to keep anything beside the WordPress theme that you are using and custom plugins on version control. You are always assured that any development you have done on your local computer, staging, whatever, you are always sure that you need to transfer only plugin custom plugin directory of WordPress theme to the server and nothing else, and that you make sure that you don't forget anything top, except maybe uploads directory that maybe client added on staging or something like that. Like write in here, transfer your eventual files that you find in your uploaded directory. And after that, you need to migrate your development database to production, make changes regarding site URL and other paths in database you've done. Or you can just use some of those. So there's like plugins, duplicator, WP Migrate DB, all on one WP migration. Give it a try. I personally use the one in the middle, WP Migrate DB. It's awesome and it's finished jobs like this. And after launch of the site, you're of course going to be doing backup and maintenance. And the best advice someone given to me about WordPress, but I forgot who, and I even remember I'm going to buy him a beer. It's to keep it updated. So there are like so many people working on WordPress core, making sure that with all new versions there are less bugs, more fixes, etc., etc. So please keep it updated. Keep, of course, plugins, themes, and translations also updated. Make sure that your server hardware is scalable according to your web visits and server usage. If needed, you will, if like in some VPS, you will have to increase it over time. Track logs for errors, thus attack patterns, brute force attacks, etc., etc. And it will let you know what things you need to done to protect your WordPress instance. Optimize your database for better performance. Better said, optimize your database server for better performance. Keep track of no working links for pages, of course, to see why they're not working and why there is not content on them. Regenerate image sizes over time if new sizes are added. And the last thing is, of course, backup, which I also saw in many projects. They're like no backup mechanism. There's like no server-side backup, no like IRC services plugin for backup, etc. So please, backup is a golden thing when it's done, not just for WordPress, but any kind of project. And I can emphasize enough about security that you need to care about your site. It's not good things when like it happens, your site got hacked or something like that, and but you think about, oh, I better invest a little more in security to protect it. It's not a great thing either for you, either for a client to see that site got hacked, and sometimes I'm annoyed by someone who said that even if you taken all the security measures, like knowing my site is 100% protected from all the attacks, I just remember the line from this guy. His name is Damien Scott, and if you're a little into TV shows, you might find him familiar. And he had a line that said, like, in my experience, nothing is impenetrable. So the next time you get annoyed by someone who said that they're protected their site 100%, just use this. And you're probably asking why the title of this lecture is called Handling WordPress Projects Begin to Infinity. If you are a little inexperienced and just starting, like as a developer or something, you will probably start worrying over time, like that you're not going to finish things on time. I'm under pressure by bosses, by clients, etc., etc. But don't take it hard. By working with more and more projects, you will find out that you will be better in your job, and that's by making experience. Experience is a great thing. And over time, you will start less to worry and start more to care about what you're doing. And if you're caring about some project, that like you're into care project for some client, and like if you even build that project and the client said, oh, these guys, or you're great, let's continue our development agreement with care, you will find out that you're going to like it eventually. And in the end, when you start caring about something that you made build, you will start to enjoy it, even if it's a WordPress project, anything else. So I'm saying no to infinity worrying. I say yes to infinity enjoy on working with WordPress or any other project. You can find this presentation here, if you like, or I can send it to you. And that's it.